It's quite something that in a little state like Iowa, the impact that real estate has nationally and even internationally. A lot of that has to do with the institutions here, Principal here in Des Moines and Aegon in Cedar Rapids. Those two institutions really helped get things going.
From cornfields to high-rises, office to industrial, houses to hotels, and every other asset class in real estate, we cover the people, the projects, and the profit. Welcome to the Investing in Iowa show. This show is for go-doers, action takers, and business owners. It's for people like you who are sick of Uncle Sam taking a huge bite of your apple. If you're looking to get ahead of what's taking place in Iowa, learn who is doing what, and how you can get in on the action, you're in the right place. Hosted by Neil Timmins, an Iowa native who has been involved in over $300 million in real estate right here in Iowa. Recording in studio from West Des Moines. Here's your host, Neil Timmins.
I've got Art Cox here on the show. Art, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm excited you're here. For the audience's sake, who are you? Where are you from? And what do you do?
Well, I'm an Iowa native. I grew up in the Quad Cities, Davenport, Bettendorf. Lived there really through college. Went to Iowa and went back to Davenport after graduating in 1975. That was when I first got into real estate. Most of the audience probably is not alive back then. Sometimes the truth hurts. The economy was not good back then. There were virtually no jobs. John Deere didn't have enough jobs to hire me. And so real estate became an alternative. I grew up around construction. My dad was an architect. So sort of always around buildings and things happening in terms of that. So real estate was a logical fallback at the time. That was when interest rates were heading into the teens, and it was a tough market.
I can imagine it was hard. What was your entry point? What did you start doing?
Residential
Sales.
My first day on the job, I walked into the office, and a manager took me back to the bullpens, pointed to a desk, and said, "There's your desk. There's your phone," and he walked out. That was it.
It's old school as it gets.
It was a very different world back then.
Yeah.
It was virtually no training. The professional associations either didn't exist or were in their infancy, like CCM Institute. Nobody knew about them then. It hadn't really grown.
Right.
So it was sink or swim.
Yeah. All right. How long did you last?
About 5 years.
It's pretty impressive because most don't last that long.
Well, there weren't very many options.
Sure.
In the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to do it.
I've always said there's nothing more motivating than knowing you might not eat tomorrow.
Yes. And as I look back, people have asked me, if I'd have known then what I know now, I should have stayed just a little bit longer and things would have been a whole lot different.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. You oftentimes get rewarded in those later years for all the grunt work you did in the early years.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
So 5 years goes by and then what?
I was tired of it. And I basically went and got a job with Progressive Insurance, was where I ended up.
Okay.
And it was a small company back then.
Yeah.
Small enough that when we had national meetings, we went to the CEO's condo.
Okay.
Everybody.
Wow.
It was a whole different world back then in insurance, also, at least for those sorts of companies.
Yeah.
I was there for about 4 years and wanted to move up, had every intention of staying. It was good company. People were good, all that sort of stuff. But to move up, you needed to have a master's degree.
Okay.
So I started back to get an MBA, also at Iowa, and kept going. And the chair of the business department at St. Ambrose, now St. Ambrose University, was in my Lions Club and said, if you want to make yourself look different so you can compete, just get a PhD. So being young and naive, okay, I did. So kind of went from right through the master's, got a PhD at Iowa, went to UNI, and the rest is history.
Yeah, yeah. How did you, at that point, you get the PhD and you graduate and you're thinking, what do I do next? And how did that come together to where you decided to make that transition to UNI?
Well, initially, I did expect to go back to work for Progressive.
Sure.
Be a product manager or something like that.
Yeah.
And after several years, I started teaching the very first semester in the PhD program. That was also different. Here's your book. There's the syllabus. Go.
You learn. Your generation's totally different. because you learn by doing because you had no other option.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah. I somewhat facetiously say I got in the program because I could speak English. So there you go.
Yeah.
Again, kind of sink or swim, and you just do it. You have to figure it out.
Right.
Well, after a couple years, and I kind of liked the teaching, and I taught a number of different classes. Most of the graduate students taught the beginning finance class. I was in the finance department, which I did. But they said, we need somebody to teach insurance. Okay. We need somebody to teach investments. Okay. We need somebody to teach commercial banking. Okay. I don't know if anybody else did. At the time, I was not aware of anybody that I had appointments in 2 departments, what we sort of affectionately call home ec, consumer science, family and consumer science, whatever, the old-fashioned home ec department. They wanted a class in financial planning. Came to me to develop a class. So I did. There were semesters I taught 9 semester hours.
Wow.
More than anybody else.
Sure.
But that was what I did.
You just kind of took it all in and you're the yes man, but that creates opportunities.
Well, it did. Also some limitations, which I was warned about. If you focus on your teaching, that's going to detract from research. That's okay. I don't mind doing that, but I like the teaching part. So I decided I was going to go down the academic path. And as that worked back at the time, to some extent still today, there's a cycle of hiring in academia. And the different disciplines have their own sort of sequencing. But finance happened at the big national meeting that took place in the fall, sort of late fall. And everybody is looking for a job, goes there. Everybody that got a job is there to interview. Nowadays, it's not really an interview because you have to go through the hurdles before you can have an interview. But anyway, we'll call it an interview. Yeah. And I interviewed at a number of different places around mostly the eastern half of the United States. Got several offers. You and I seemed to have the best fit, the best vision as a business college, and ended up taking that position.
Yeah. Stayed
there ever since.
What point did the real estate program get developed?
That's a good question. It was actually 1987. Okay. So I started at UNI in 1989. And the program was a joint effort of the Iowa Association of Realtors and the Real Estate Commission. They wanted to have a program, an undergraduate major in real estate with the intent to enhance the competency of the real estate agents in the state. Sure. Makes a lot of sense. And so they went to the legislature and got a statute on the books to create the program. Statutorily, it was the only one at the time. They went to the University of Iowa. Iowa said no. They went to Iowa State. Iowa State said no. Went to UNI and the dean again. Part of the reason why I went there was because of vision. He could see that there was merit in a program like that. And so UNI took the program. I didn't go to UNI with the intent of starting or being in a real estate program.
Sure.
It was actually insurance. At the time, when I left Iowa, they were shutting down their insurance program.
Oh, really? Okay.
So the idea was that UNI was going to have an insurance program.
Absolutely. Right.
And a real estate program, which the synergies make tremendous sense, correct, especially in a state like Iowa. Yeah. So that was where I went. And the insurance program never took off. A couple years later, they were looking for a director. I was at a senior recognition banquet, which the college did for many years, sitting at a table. And as they were putting together the seating assignments, this is before the evening, Dean's office came to me and said, we need somebody to sit with this guy. Nobody knows him. We think you do. He's from Marshalltown. And I said, I know that guy. It's Ray Ostis. That was who it was. And he was from Marshalltown. My parents at the time lived in Marshalltown. So they knew I got somehow introduced. Yeah. And so we got seated at the table together with students, got to talking about what his role was with this new real estate program looking for a director. We can't find anybody. And I turned to him and I said, I could do that job.
You didn't work this hard to earn next to nothing on your money. Savings accounts barely move the needle. Tech stocks, AI stocks, well, it kind of feels like Vegas out there right now. Rentals, too oftentimes it means tenants, toilets, termites, and not the cash flow you were thinking. Well, so I've got an alternative. Little Guy Loans Co-Lending Fund. Qualified accredited investors are earning 10 to 11% annual passive returns. It's paid quarterly by co-lending with us alongside me on short-term first lien real estate loans right here in the greater Des Moines area. Your money's backed by a real property, not promises, stays close to home. We've successfully funded well over $10 million in loans right here in central Iowa. So if you want steady income without headaches, click the link below in the show notes. Let's connect. We'll see if it's a fit for you.
That was it. You know, there were machinations behind the scenes to make it happen, but that's where the career kind of took that track down to real estate.
Incredible. I mean, you are extraordinarily well known in the state for building the program and being an absolute leader in real estate. I can't believe how many people have sat in the chair you're sitting in, and all said they are the prodigy. You know, they've come out of UNI's program.
Thank you.
And built tremendous, monumental successes in businesses and have impacted really, I mean, dozens upon dozens of lives through the employees they have and all the contractors, everybody. I mean, literally hundreds at this point. It's wildly impressive.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. It's quite something that in a little state like Iowa, the impact that real estate has nationally and even internationally. A lot of that has to do with the institutions here, Principal here in Des Moines and Aegon and Cedar Rapids. Those two institutions really helped get things going.
Maybe give me a little more color on that, because oftentimes when people inside this industry think real estate, they often think it's what I do. Whatever I do is, whatever that happens to be. But where you sit, you have a much broader perspective, because real estate is huge, it's global, and it's multifaceted.
Absolutely.
So give me a little color on that, where people go, maybe what real estate means at your level when you think about it.
Well, it's multifaceted. The program was really never set up to turn out real estate agents. That wasn't the goal of it. Now, you can take the classes and satisfy all the pre-licensing requirements, so that it does happen a lot, as you know. But that wasn't the focus of the program. It was a more broad-based program. And the insurance companies, notably Principal and Aegon, Transamerica, have huge real estate investment divisions. It's part of their investment portfolio. And Principal was key to that. If there was anybody that kind of started us down that path to broaden beyond brokerage and appraisal and things like that, it was Principal. To name a name, of Steve Graves.
Sure.
And he was a champion. We worked with Steve's support and encouragement, created an internship program where students would come down here to Des Moines for a semester or a semester in a summer, work full time, and then go back to school and finish up their degree. And that opened up so many opportunities, because companies like Principal and Aegon, they own big assets.
Correct.
They own assets within their own portfolio, and also as third-party managers, investing money for other investors. So you've got all those tertiary disciplines that are around sort of the brokerage part. They've got appraisers, they've got property managers and asset managers, closers and servicers, and it just goes on and on.
Right.
And once the industry began to realize that we're more than just brokerage, and not that there's anything wrong with that. That's a viable career option. But those two types of employers are looking for very different people. The brokers are very much sales transactions oriented, right. And the institutional types, not that there's not, because the producers, they have to produce loans.
That's right.
If they're on the debt side of the business, but they're a little bit more analytical. It's a little different. The first savings and loan crisis, then a firm out of Overland Park, Kansas, Midland Loan Services, figured out, oh, wait a minute now, there's a program. They happen to be up in Cedar Falls, but that's the closest one. They've got this program, and they're churning out people that are good analysts. And all of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of graduates going down, students going down as interns, and then graduates going down to Overland Park,
right,
which has become a commercial loan servicing hub.
Yes.
With Midland, now PNC, and Key Bank, and others, Trimark. There's just a whole bunch of companies that have flourished out of that. So when you think about real estate, on the institutional side, you've got equity and debt. Yeah. You've got brokerage, transactions part, appraisal, evaluation, property management, all those different pieces the students get exposed to.
I'm curious on your take on college, higher education. It's become, there's naturally been a criticism over the last handful of years that maybe the value displacement as costs continue to rise as they do in higher education, and then the value conversation comes into place. To me, it seems like when we're having this conversation, I think about all these places you've named. You can't get there without a college degree. The level of formalized training associated with creating an analyst is a pretty high bar.
Yes, it is.
Versus some other things that one might go get a degree in. To me, it seems like there's a level of specialization associated with earning the degree that then makes you qualified to go work at one of these very large institutions.
The graduates hit the ground running, so to speak. They're productive right from the start.
Right.
Especially if they've done an internship in that. But I would say the same thing also applies on the brokerage side of the business, especially in commercial. That's, in a way, that's why the CCM Institute has flourished the way it has, because it has a very, very strong educational component to that designation. People that don't have a college degree but end up in real estate and want to do commercial, it's a natural to get that designation.
Right.
What's interesting is a lot of my students, former students, have that designation. It does keep skills fresh.
Sure.
It's also good for networking. So they're getting something out of that as well.
Yeah, it's a terrific certification and a high bar. I mean, it's the gold standard for the business. Looking back to the beginning of the program, what are you most proud about what you accomplished there?
What some of the students have done.
Yeah.
They're at the peak. They're doing stuff that, just like everybody else, you think, well, you got to be in New York to do that. No, not really.
Right.
And they're doing deals all over the world.
Yeah.
Very complex. I'd like to talk about a daughter that was a former student.
Yes.
And my little girl doing what she's doing for a very large firm. And that's kind of cool. I really hope she likes it. She's made a career out of it. She's done very well. She tries to explain what she does to her sisters, and they just, they don't have a clue. I think, don't ask me to try to explain it any better than she can.
Yeah. Once you get in deep and you specialize, that the ability to converse with other people who understand, it's pretty narrow.
She works remote, has since before COVID, and she's very careful about confidentiality.
Sure.
There was a time as I was moving down to the Des Moines area and my new home wasn't finished yet, that I actually lived with my daughters back and forth. So I was there in their home when she was working, and they had a bedroom set up where actually she and her husband both could work. He did not work at home very much during the evenings. But if I would walk in to that office where she was working, she'd, two big monitors set up full of numbers. She immediately blanked the screen. She was that careful about it. I've never questioned that, but I was always amused as there's so much stuff on those screens. It would take me 2 hours just to figure out what you're doing, let alone in 20 seconds to say, I need to take the garbage out kind of thing.
Right. Well, I commend her. That's a high standard.
Yes, it is.
To be able to operate that way. No, that's fantastic. What keeps you occupied these days?
Well, I'm working with a team at RE/MAX Precision, mentoring, advising, doing market studies, investment analysis, things like that.
Yeah.
Trying to get active at church. I've joined a Lutheran Church of Hope and gotten active there, and hoping to do some financial planning for people on a pro bono basis just to help out. I've developed some financial models so people can estimate their living costs all the way through life. Specifically, I've got one that I've developed for senior living. It's an area that far too many people don't consider.
Agree.
They think it's very expensive, and it's not cheap. I get it. But when you plan for those costs, for a lot of people, they're not prohibitive. And it's a really nice, I say, gracious way to live out your life. Far too many people don't think about that, and they should. Oftentimes they pay a price, a very heavy price.
Yeah, Well, I commend the work you're doing there because it can be a challenging conversation for people and a challenging conversation for families, because oftentimes it's not just mom and dad involved. There's a lot of emotions. It goes way past just dollars and cents associated with what, some of the decisions that at times must be chosen.
Right.
Have to go down that path.
If you're a house flipper, execute the burst strategy or do double closings and are in need of money, Little Guy Loans is your go-to lender here in the Des Moines area. Time is money. Loan approvals in 24 hours. Closings in 5 days. Little Guy Loans was founded by Neil Timmins, an investor just like you. Since he has been in over 10,000 homes in Des Moines, there's never an appraisal. Houses, multifamily, and commercial property loans up to $1 million. Check out www.littleguyloans.com.
Remind me, what year did you retire, and then what year did you move here to the Des Moines area?
I left UNI in the spring of 21.
In 21, okay. Just past COVID, yeah?
Yeah, it was not good. And it accelerated leaving teaching full time.
Sure.
My wife and I had talked about, okay, what are we going to do? Where are we going to live? We both lived in Cedar Falls for a long time, and it's a great town to live in. She passed in 23, and we had made plans to move down here at that time. And I just kind of kept the process going. In the spring of 24, put the house on the market. It sold in a couple of months. Kind of an interesting story also. It's a good story. It's an interesting story. 5 weeks, no showings, except for a couple of people walking to open houses. On the 5th or 6th weekend, not from an open house, there were multiple showings, got 2 offers, both from incoming school principals. One of them ended up, we negotiated and closed. It closed in late July.
Okay.
And I moved down here then and lived with daughters for several months. Then, because my new townhome at Brio was not ready yet, Wesley's Life put me up in an apartment at Wesley on Grand.
Okay.
It was I actually enjoyed living there.
Did you? Yeah.
That neighborhood is just wonderful.
Yeah.
It's walkable to the restaurants and things.
Right.
So then my townhome was finished almost exactly a year ago is when I moved. This weekend it'll be
A year.
52 weeks.
Yeah. Wow. How do you like it?
I like it. It was a good decision then. It's still a good decision.
Des Moines feels like a good second home. You were there for so many years in Cedar Falls.
I was down here in Des Moines so often. I think back, I should have kept track of how many times I drove down.
Yeah.
It was probably easily a couple times a month.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I was here a lot.
Well, for 2026, the rest of the year, what are you excited about?
I'm hoping that the work with RE/MAX becomes fruitful for them.
Yeah.
I think that I taught a class for the whole company, sort of an intro to commercial real estate in December. I wouldn't mind doing a few more things like that.
Sure.
I'd like the team to be productive in that regard. And I would like to do the pro bono work for church. I think there's a real need there.
For sure.
If people would be aware that it was available, I'd like to think they'd take advantage of it.
I really appreciate you taking the time to connect, come in here and share. This has been a wonderful conversation. And again, thank you for the work you've done for so many years. A career's worth of work. I asked lots of questions today. What's one question I did not ask that I should have asked?
Oh, well, that's a good question. A tough question that I'm not sure I know the answer to is about university education. Have we gotten too applied? Have we moved away from the classical education, in a sense, reading, writing, and arithmetic? We gotten away from that to having too many classes, sort of in a major where students get an AA degree while they're still in high school.
Sure.
And they think that their college career is nothing but the major classes.
Right.
I'm not entirely convinced that that's a good model.
Yeah.
I saw and still see all too often, young people especially, but they simply do not think about what they're saying and what they're writing. And I think that's partly due to the nature of the way education is presented nowadays. What's the right answer to that? I'm not sure, but I'm not sure we're going the right direction, whatever that is.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, give me your take on AI. What I hear you saying is that one's critical thinking skills can be have been somewhat challenged or maybe muted as part of the through the education system. And I'm wondering, does AI amplify that, meaning quiet it down, limit their ability to critically think? Or when used correctly, it actually enhances their ability to critically think, to use it as a resource, to use it as a tool for something alternative. But if all you seek is the answer, there is a lazy way.
Right. Yeah. And I think the jury is still out a little bit on AI. Just seeking the answer, I don't think is the answer. Knowing what question to ask, maybe at least partway there. But I think a lot of it is, if you can use AI and then look at what it's produced for you, you need to know enough to be able to tell, is that valid or not? Okay, I'm going to try this. People keep saying it saves so much time writing emails and stuff like that. All right, I'm going to try this. So I asked AI last week to draft 2 emails for me. Gave it a couple of criteria. And it gave me the verbiage. And I looked at it and said, that's awful. I completely threw it out and just wrote it myself. Yeah. It was, if somebody sent that email out, not only was I didn't like the grammar all that well. It might have been technically correct, but it didn't flow well at all. But it really didn't address the question that I really wanted answers to. And that's where I think maybe the jury is out on AI. Yeah. Maybe it can get good enough to be able to anticipate, well, when you say this is what you really mean.
Sure.
That could get kind of scary too.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I understand where you're going relative to the answer versus the work. I'm reminded of my middle school math teacher, Earl Holt, greatest teacher I ever had. And it was all about show me the work. The answer is an outcome. But if you got the answer wrong, it's because the work was wrong. Mm-hmm. And so I want to see what you have to show me the work so I know what you did, the steps you took to get to the outcome. And that's where it all exists.
Yes. This class that I taught in December, at the end of it, problem was to calculate a net operating income for this hypothetical property that I thought had fairly realistic numbers. It was all made up. But I just wanted them to see what an operating statement for a piece of commercial property looks like, because it was primarily residential agents. That's what it was geared towards. And there were at least a half a dozen that I saw that they were putting the numbers into AI, and the answers were wildly incorrect.
Sure.
But they had no idea that it was that far off. You could come up with a different number depending on how you put the numbers together. Did you put the replacement reserve above the line or below the line? You're going to get a different. Okay, I get that.
Right.
But if you don't know how to get to that.
Art, for people, they want to find you, follow you, connect with you, where can they go? What should they do? How should they get a hold of you?
I still use my UNI email address, one of the greatest benefits of all time. So you can go to the UNI website and find that. I can give it to you if you want.
Let's go for it.
A first name dot last name at uni.edu. So it's arthur.cox, C-O-X, at uni.edu. That's probably the best way. I've got a couple other emails. My senior housing one is arthurtcox at gmail.com. My REMAX one is art@ringcommercialadvisors.com. Any of them work every day.
You got 3 choices, audience. There you go. We'll drop them all below in the show notes. And Art, I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thanks for listening. If you're enjoying the show, may I ask a favor of you? Naturally, subscribe so you never miss an episode. But would you rate and leave an honest written review on Apple Podcasts? It does a lot for us here at the show, and I appreciate reading your thoughts. Great guests make for a great show. If you know of another Iowan who would be a great guest, or you yourself have interest in being a guest, well, get on our radar. Visit Investing in Iowa to fill out an application or recommend a guest. And if you want to connect with me one-on-one, go to LegacyImpactInvestors.com. Click on the Invest With Us button in the top right corner, and there you can pick a time for the 2 of us to get on the calendar and connect. Until next time, keep investing in Iowa.